Ukrainian television announces air raid alert after fresh Russian missile strikes today. Ukrainian government advisor has said that today will be the hardest day of the siege, adding that Russian troops' plan is to use tanks to break through into Kiev, but Kiev is ready with anti-tank missiles supplied by foreign allies, and Ukrainian army units are defending positions on 4 fronts despite being outnumbered. Deputy Ukrainian Defense Minister says Russian forces may enter areas just outside Kiev today. You can see the visuals on your screens right now. It's day 2 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And with breaking news just coming in, Ukrainian television has announced air raid alert after fresh Russian missile strikes today. Ukrainian government advisor has said that today will be the hardest day of the siege, adding that Russian troops plan to use tanks to break through into Kiev, but Kiev is ready with anti-tank missiles supplied by foreign allies. Ukrainian army units are defending positions on 4 fronts. This is despite them being outnumbered. Deputy Ukrainian Defense Minister has said that Russian forces may enter areas just outside of Kiev today. Let's just bring you up to speed with the situation on ground. After weeks of failed diplomacy, Ukraine is now under full-fledged Russian attack, with tensions running high over the well-being and safety of Ukrainians living in the conflict-ridden country. The ground-level situation in the country continues to remain grim. Thousands of Ukrainians have started to flee their country over fears of attacks from Russian troops. Videos and photos on social media show lines of cars moving out of Kiev to take refuge in neighboring European countries. United Nations has called on European countries this to keep their borders open for those fleeing the violence. According to the UN Refugee Agency, around 100,000 people have already fled their homes within Ukraine, while thousands more have taken shelter in neighboring countries of Poland and Hungary. Poland has said that it will open 9 reception centers along its 535-kilometer-long border with Ukraine. The reception centers will then offer meals, medical care to the refugees arriving in the country. Now, a scheduled train from Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine arrived on Thursday in Poland, carrying a few hundred passengers. According to the border authorities, some 15,000 people have already crossed the border to Poland since the invasion. Now, residents in the Donbas region, which is controlled by Russian-backed separatists, have also reported a massive upsurge of airstrikes since Thursday. Multiple buildings destroyed, dozens of lives lost. Residents are now ramping up efforts to evacuate this region. Now, to get us all the updates from Berlin, our correspondent Trent Murray is joining us live. Trent, thank you for joining us. What can you tell us about the situation on ground currently and about Germany's position and next steps in this conflict?
Well, day number 2 of this major conflict, and it shows little sign of slowing down. That has left leaders across Europe really in a state of horror, in shock, just some of the words that we are hearing. In fact, we heard Chancellor Olaf Scholz last night give an address to the nation. It was aired across all the major networks here. And he said that there is no turning back to a Cold War era. There is no turning back to 1989, of course, that year when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union collapsed. He said, we fought very hard in Central and Eastern Europe for freedom and democracy, and people won't be wanting to give them up. It's just one of the sentiments that he and other leaders across Europe have expressed as they watch this conflict unfold in Europe. Just a real shock, as I say, that we now again have a fully fledged war in modern Europe. It really is unimaginable for a lot of people here, and I think the seriousness of the situation is really starting to hit home just for your average European who is watching these alarming pictures coming through on their television screens.
Right, Trent, now just for more clarity on this, we know that sanctions have done little to deter Russia. What are the next steps on part of Germany?
Well, Chancellor Scholz has been in Brussels overnight, speaking with the leaders of the European Union, the other leaders of the bloc, where they have essentially signed off in principle on a massive package of sanctions, as they describe it. In fact, Joseph Borrell, the EU's top diplomat, says this is the harshest package of sanctions that we have ever implemented, we being the European Union. A couple of the key points that we know are in that package: the EU will freeze certain Russian assets that are here in the bloc. It will also stop Russian banks from accessing European financial markets. Now, the EU says that this will mean that 70% of Russia's banking market and key state-owned industries will now be under sanction. We're just now waiting for a little bit more detail. It's just going through all of the legal wrangling, as you might imagine,
right,
when something like this is announced. We've got 27 countries involved, but we will hear later today a lot more of that detail about who is named in that package, which financial institutions, and just how far they will go.
Right. Trent, also apart from sanctions, what other form of support can we expect from Germany in this conflict?
Well, I mean, we know that much like the United States, Germany, as a NATO member, will not be sending any troops to Ukraine. Yeah. I mean, that is obviously a recipe for World War III, essentially. As President Biden has said, that becomes a whole new ball game. But what we do know is Germany will continue to try and send economic aid to Ukraine. It's still resisting those calls to send weapons, despite Kiev's pleas. But we also know that the United States is going to come in strongly back in Germany and Europe here. Troops that are currently based in Germany are going to be sent eastwards to shore up the eastern flank to countries like Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and another 7,000 US troops we expect are going to be flown from America here to Germany to just boost NATO numbers, given the uncertainty around this unfolding security situation.
Absolutely. All right, Trent, thank you so much for bringing us all the updates on this. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.